Hey man, Keith Thurman is finally back. Yeah, and it's right around the corner. It's in March, and he fighting some no-name fighter that I ain't never heard of, Brock Jarvis. He fighting a no-name fighter, Brock Jarvis. We gonna get into all of that, but what we really gonna get into is Keith Thurman still wanting to smoke with Errol Spence. Let's talk about all that in this video, but before we do, make sure you hit my like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's cook on it. Don't duck me, son. Don't duck me, son. He finally back. Mr. One Time, Keith Thurman, man, and I was surprised when I heard this news. You know, a lot of people was counting Keith Thurman out. You know, a lot of fans were saying that Keith Thurman was done. It was over with. We was never going to see him back in the ring, you know. Keith Thurman, he suffered a major bicep tear. He went through bicep surgery, but he back. And the crazy part is, y'all want to know what's crazy? Is that who imagined that Keith Thurman would come back before Errol Spence, right? Go through a training camp, almost a full training camp, have to pull out, get a major surgery, and still be back before Errol Spence fights again. That's crazy. That's crazy. Because EJ, my guy, that's my guy without a shadow of a doubt, right? I'm a big, huge Errol Spence fan, but I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm going to keep it real with y'all all the time. Remember when Errol Spence was clowning Keith Thurman for always being injured and always being on the bench? Tables turn. Tables turn. Now, we yet to see if Keith Thurman can make it through a full training camp. That's a whole different story in itself. But, man, it's crazy, man, how these PBC fighters, man, all of them been sitting on the shelf. You know, before Keith Thurman was supposed to come back against, what's the dude, Tim Tszyu, he was sitting on the shelf. He wanted to fight. Now, he was turning down several fights because a lot of the PBC fighters, man, they was getting paid big money, you know. Even when they was only fighting once a year, they was still getting paid big bags. Now, when that money ran out, them veteran fighters like Keith Thurman, they felt that they still should be getting the same pay, right? And, you know, Al Heyman and the people at Showtime, they was like, we not paying you the type of money that we was going to pay you before to fight just some anybody. If you want to get them type of paydays, we got an opponent for you, Keith. Why don't you go ahead and fight Boots Ennis? Go fight Boots and you're going to get paid what you want to get paid. This is what the higher-ups at Showtime said. Keith Thurman denies it, but, you know, Boots even backed that up. He didn't want to fight Boots. He was ducking that smoke. So my whole point is, you know, when that bag ran out over there at PBC, a lot of them fighters, man, they just couldn't face the facts that they wasn't going to get paid the same type of money unless they was fighting a big name. That's why Keith Thurman started calling out Errol Spence. He wanted that Errol Spence fight bad, you know. And Errol Spence, he didn't want to fight Keith Thurman after that. Errol Spence was stubborn, hard-headed, and he said he was sticking to his guns. He would never fight Keith Thurman. Now, we're going to get on that in a little bit. But it's a damn shame that Keith Thurman, the name that he holds, right, all the accolade that he has, that he's coming back and fighting a guy that I ain't never heard of. Brock Jarvis, and he fighting him in Australia. Y'all heard of Brock Jarvis? So this guy is 22 wins, 1 loss, and he got 20 KOs. Yeah. So let me see what he's done. Let's look at his resume. Don't know him, 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 never heard of him, don't know him, don't know him, don't know him. Liam Paro. Okay. He fought Liam Paro. Liam Paro's a 140-pound fighter. Yeah, so they fought at 140. Liam Paro KO'd him. So this man that Keith Thurman is fighting already got knocked out by a 140-pound former titleist Liam Paro that Richardson Hitchin just outboxed and embarrassed. This is crazy. So his next opponent after Liam Paro, and that was in 2022, is, I don't know him. I ain't even finna say his name because I don't know him and you don't either. His next opponent, this year he fought him, last year in December, he just fought in December, Adrian Rodriguez. Never heard of him. Don't know him. And that was a 6-round bout. So this dude that Keith Thurman is fighting, his last 2 fights was an 8-rounder and a 6-rounder. Hey, I guess, man, they giving Keith Thurman a complete bomb. Keith Thurman, you better go in here and knock this dude out. If Keith Thurman don't knock this dude out, I don't want to hear him calling out Errol or Spence. Now, Keith Thurman is adamant he still want to fight Errol Spence. Now, Errol Spence, he was supposed to fight Sebastian Fundora, and that fight fell apart because, let's just keep it a buck, man. Sebastian Fundora been waiting on Errol Spence for like a year, right? Ain't nobody finna sit around, right, and wait for Errol Spence. The world, the boxing world, it don't revolve around Errol Spence. The boxing world just don't, and that's my guy. But like I said, I got to keep it a buck. And I told people before, hey, this fight ain't gonna happen because how long is he gonna sit around waiting on Errol Spence? Plus, Errol Spence, from my knowledge, he still don't even have a trainer. So he got to get his shit right. Now, by the time Errol Spence get his shit right, Keith Thurman, I expect him to already have this fight in the bag and have a knockout victory. Like I said, because he don't knock this dude out, I don't want to hear a Keith Thurman no more. Real talk. I know he been out of the ring a long, long time. It's crazy because Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, man, they neck and neck when it comes to layoffs. You know what I'm saying? They run right alongside each other when it comes to who been out of the ring the longest, right? They both always injured and laid off. So, with that being said, Keith Thurman actually got Errol Spence by a little bit. He got Errol Spence by a little bit, but he ain't too far ahead of Errol Spence when we start talking about layoffs. But this is the fight that really needs to happen. The two men that's always injured and always laid off, right? They had history. This is a fight that everybody wanted to see before Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Some people may argue that Keith Thurman and Errol Spence was bigger than Bud Crawford and Errol Spence, as far as, with the fans wanting to see it at one point. You know what I'm saying? They was clowning Keith Thurman, putting up all type of memes saying he was running from Errol Spence and all of that. But at the time, Keith Thurman, he was out on an injury. He got injured in that Danny Garcia fight and he was out over 2 years. So for whatever reason it was, people gonna say that Keith Thurman ducked. Then you got other people just gonna say different, right? But for whatever you believe, that fight should have happened, right? It never did happen, and the fight still should happen. If Errol Spence is still in the sport of boxing and he don't retire, if Keith Thurman beat this dude that he's gonna fight, it need to go down. Make it happen. You know what I'm saying? Make it happen. Make it happen for PBC old time sakes. We want to see this fight. I believe it's still a big fight. And let me know if y'all still would want to see Keith Thurman and Errol Spence. Drop a comment in the comment section. Make sure you hit my like button, subscribe to the channel, and y'all already know how I do. There you go, talking that boxing again, and I'm gone.